another Good Chat blog. So today we're going to be talking about working with sexually and gender diverse people. Now in the workplace, this can be a little bit tricky if you've never been familiar with how such diversity can present. And in the age of cancelling people and not just TV shows, it can be a little bit scary to get things wrong or to show ignorance on topics that are becoming much more common. Now, gender and sexual diversity is a protected status under the Human Rights Act of 1998 and the Australian Human Rights Commission Act of 1986, and it's covered by a bunch of local, state and territory laws, such as here in Tasmania, where I'm located. It's covered by the Tasmanian Anti-Discrimination Act of 1998, and in a nutshell, these laws and acts state that it is unlawful to discriminate, bully, harass or treat differently anyone based on their gender identity, intersex variations of sex characteristics, sexual orientation, relationship status, lawful sexual activity. And it also covers race, disability, pregnancy, and a whole bunch of other factors. But for today's sake, we're just focusing on the sexuality and gender diversity aspects. Now, in the workplace and in all other aspects of life, it is important that we treat people with respect. It isn't hard to do this, but if we understand that knowing more about a topic empowers you to feel more secure in your knowledge about it, then we empower you to be better for it. While you should be treating others with respect, safety and consideration anyway, it can be hard to know the boundaries in and from those around you. So we hope that today we can break a few of those barriers of knowledge that often lead to discrimination of those who present as gender and sexually diverse. Sometimes we accidentally discriminate against people without actually meaning to. We say things or do things that others might find offensive. So today we figure if you know a bit more about the LGBTQ+ community, then maybe you won't make those mistakes. And also, we'll have a few questions and answers of things that maybe you wanted to ask but didn't quite know how. So we'll have that coming up soon. First off, what is gender and sexually diverse? Well, in short, gender diversity is someone who expresses their gender in a manner that they may not have been born with and chooses to express differently or have had that corrected. Now, it includes transgender people or people who were assigned one gender at birth, such as male, but identify and are taking steps towards becoming female, and of course, vice versa. Now, they present to others, themselves and the world as that chosen sex. They may be taking surgical steps towards that, hormonal steps towards that, or social steps towards that. They may be asking you to start referring to them by a new name, or they may be dressing differently, presenting differently and acting different. Now, of course, it works the other way as well. Male to female, female to male. And then there are people such as intersex, which is actually a rare medical condition where people are born with multiple chromosomes and may be assigned a gender at a very young age, but as they get older they realise that they're not presenting as the sex that they identify with. And then there are people who might identify as non-binary, neither male nor female, falling somewhere in between, or neither. And then there's genderqueer folk who may present as male and female depending on their mood. Sexual diversity is people that present as gay, lesbian or homosexual. They're attracted to the same sex. Bisexual people are attracted to both male and female presenting genders. Pansexual is attraction to people as opposed to a gender. And then there's people that are even asexual or not sexually interested in anyone. It's a big wide world out there and there really aren't any strict rules anymore, but it can lead to confusion when all you've known is a binary gender tied up with sex, and many people haven't met people that are sexually or gender diverse, or at least they don't know them personally, they've just seen them on TV or online, and that can be a very different reality to the one that's presented in front of you. Now, in the workplace, it's a space that's often limited in size and repetitive in nature, so we're often in close quarters and we do need to learn to respect each other. This series is aimed at how to interact with lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, queer, intersex and other gender or sexually diverse people in the workplace, and hopefully answer some of the questions that you might be too afraid to ask and help you understand some of the language that you might see commonly used in the LGBTQI+ space. And who better to answer your questions than our fabulous friend, Love Luci. So without further ado, Oh, hi! How are you, possums? Great to see you. So, let's talk queer spaces, pronouns, and how not to offend in the workspace, shall we? Let's start with the acronym. Commonly asked questions. Now, there's a lot of different answers and a lot of different groups that have a lot of different opinions on what should and should not make up the acronym that nearly everybody was kind of familiar with, but now nobody actually knows what it stands for. So let's start, shall we? The one that we're going to use is the alphabet soup of the LGBTQ+. How's that? Now, there are others, but that's the one that we're going to be using today, and we're going to break it down for you so we know what it means. So, L is for lesbian, G is for gay, B is for bisexual, T is for trans or transgender, and Q is for queer. The plus at the end is for all the other sexuality and gender diverse people that might not fit in under the aforementioned ones. Some of those are fairly obvious, right? You've most likely heard of gay, lesbian and bisexual people. You most likely know a few of them, even if you realise it or not. You may be related to or work with a few and not have a clue. We are legion and we are everywhere. Watch out, we're coming for you. I kid, of course. But trans or transgender, you might not be as familiar with that. Trans people are people who have or are transitioning from one gender to another. So a great example is Harry. You went to school with Harry, and Harry may have discovered that they live more happily as Amanda and may or may not follow this up with hormones, feminisation surgery and other procedures to reassign their sexual orientation to make them feel what suits them better and makes them happy. So how do you now address your friend Harry? Easy, as Amanda. Amanda presents, looks, dresses and wears women's clothes and works very hard to pass as a woman in her daily life. Harry is someone that she used to be. It isn't who she is now, and that's what counts, isn't it? At some point in your life, you probably had a terrible bang that you dyed bright pink and black and wore cut-off lace gloves and black lipstick. You'd hate for everyone to just refer to you as that phase in your life, wouldn't you? Well, that's how Amanda feels about Harry. It's someone that she was, and it's a phase of her life that she's moved on from. It's easy to respect just by treating her as you would any other woman that you know. If you're in doubt about how someone who is trans likes to be addressed, the easiest way to find out is to ask them. Simple. Now, I've posted and pulled some questions from everyone's favourite toxic cesspool site that isn't the steaming garbage heap of Twitter, Reddit. I posted, hey folks, what's something you always wanted to know about the LGBT plus community but were too afraid or thought was too rude to ask? And I'm going to read some of them here. Isn't that fun? Warning, some of these questions may seem stupid, but there are no stupid questions. Remember that. There's just really stupid answers if you aren't careful, though. So, here we go. Are drag queens trans and are they all gay? Well, drag queens are fabulous. And we cross all of the boxes. Some may be, some aren't at all. Some are biologically female or male. Some are fabulous alien beings of ethereal gorgeousness. Drag is not trans, and it's not gay, and it's not anything else. It's playing with gender and culture and the norms, and it's more akin to theatre for gender expression than anything else. It's homage and it's caricature. Basically, it's cosplay for genders. And don't forget, there's actually more than drag queens. There are also drag kings and just drag out there. Okay, question 2. Can I talk to gay people about sex? At work? No. Possum? No. Let's leave all forms of sex talk for outside of work, shall we? Because it's very rarely appropriate to talk about sex in the office, is it, Brenda? No. No, we don't do that. Can I call someone bitch, fag, sister, or the like because they're gay? Don't all gay guys love that? I'm not being mean. That's not mean. Again, I'm just going to go with no. It's just not appropriate in the workplace, and no, absolutely not all gay guys talk like that. Not everybody's off the set of Will and Grace or a TV show. These are called stereotypes, and we want to avoid them, particularly in the workplace. They cause great offence. Now, if you know them outside of work and know 100% that it's okay, go for it. But not at work. It's just not professional, okay? Can I include lesbians in guy talk? What? I'm not a lesbian. Do I look like a lesbian? No, I don't. But I don't think anybody wants in on your chauvinistic women folk derogatory talk. No one wants it, Greg, and it's why you keep getting called into HR. Just stop it. God. Is it trans guy or trans girl? Well, if they're transitioning to male from female, it's trans guy, and vice versa. It's transitioning towards that goal. So, if Charles used to be Tiffany, and Charles is a trans man who uses he and him pronouns, even when Charles isn't around. It's just rude otherwise. Charles is never ever she. Charles is, for every intents and purposes, a man and referred to and treated as such. Again, even if they're not in your face, Brenda. If someone is not dressed as their assigned gender, is it impolite to flat out ask them what their pronouns are and what they prefer? No, it isn't. Asking is how you get the correct answer. Ask politely and respectfully, and most people won't have an issue with that at all. Is it offensive to get someone's gender pronouns wrong? I'm so scared that if I call a trans woman he, and how would I correct it? Oh, I wouldn't freak about it too much. It's making mistakes is human. The best that you can do is apologise if it was a big one and do better next time. Don't make a big deal out of it. That's awkward for everybody involved. Trans people are well aware of the fact that the people are going to make mistakes. Most people just move on from it. Don't make a big deal. Apologise, move on, do better next time. Ta-da! Fixed. What does Q stand for? Oh, what a convenient segue back to my next point. There seems to be some confusion about this, but Q actually stands for queer. And queer is a way that it's an umbrella term that we sort of put for people that might not fall under gay or lesbian, but identify as being queer and falling into the non-heteronormative umbrella. It's also a way to empower the gay community and take back what was once such a derogatory term. And like I said, it covers a lot of people who don't identify under the other terms. Why are there so many letters in the gay community now? Well, it's an excellent question. Times change and sexual diversity and gender diversity have grown to incorporate whole swathes of people who don't identify as cis-het. And that just means straight hetero and happy with the sexuality assigned with them at birth. We don't call you folks normal because A, we're normal too. You don't have a monopoly on that. And in fact, some of you aren't normal, like at all. Not even a little bit. Once upon a time, and today in some places, not being cis-het was enough to get you punished. It still happens, and by punishment, I mean killed, stoned, banished, like you carried the plague. You could, and in some places still do, end up in prison just because of who you love or who you have sex with. Hardly a fair situation, and that really sucks. And some of us like to celebrate where and when we can, to enjoy the fact that we are safe and to show solidarity to our brethren that may not be, and pay homage to those that weren't. So here's some more questions from the thread. Can I call you cis, miss and girl at work? This is similar to the other question, and it's probably best that we leave that one for outside of work. It's just a bit too casual to be taken seriously, and it's not appropriate for most workplaces, Brenda. Is it okay for my boss to sexually harass me? Everyone thinks it's a joke. Oh, absolutely, unequivocally no. It's not okay just because they're gay. Gay people don't get a free pass to sexually harass people. And sexual harassment, that is just that. No matter what form it takes, who it's from, you should either ask them to quit it or report that behaviour. LGBTQ plus is not an excuse or a shield, and no reasonable person that falls under the umbrella expects it to be so. I really hope that one sorts out and you go and get some help for that one, darling. That's terrible. Terrible. Oh. Is it homophobic or transphobic to not want to date a trans person? No, that's called a preference and it's okay to have them. We all do. It's transphobic to not respect or deliberately misgender a trans person, but don't worry about dating them. They probably aren't interested, okay? Thanks, bye. How is gender different from sex? Well, gender is biological. It's based on your sexual organs, hormones, and other biological factors. Gender is a social construct. I can hear the room go, is it? No, but it is. Here's an example for you. Trucks. They're thought to be boys' toys, but they aren't actually boys' things. They don't have a sex at all. But at some point, people decided that they were masculine and that they were for boys. Gender norms change with times too. A great example of this is the colours pink and blue. Once upon a time, pre-World War II, boys were often dressed in pink and were nearly always put into dresses until about the age of 5 or 6. Girls were just as likely to be dressed in blue. They simply weren't assigned to any particular gender. They were just considered colours. No one blinked an extended eyelash at this until some advertising company decided that they could make more money by convincing people that blue trousers were for boys and only girls wore pink dresses, and that it was important to differentiate boy babies from girl babies. And to them, it absolutely was, because they could sell more stuff. But it didn't change boys and girls, did it? It really didn't matter to boy and girl babies because they're babies. A baby boy in a pink dress is still a baby boy, isn't it? It doesn't make any difference to the gender whatsoever. That's exactly why it's a social construct. It's what we assign to these genders, not things that actually exist in nature. That's how a social construct works. It's built on how people see things, not tangible facts. So, I think that's enough questions from Reddit because I don't want to dig any deeper into this because, let's face it, it's a steaming garbage heap of a site. Anyway, so let's recap. LGBTQ plus people are people and it often isn't relevant at all to the workplace, so it's best not to worry too much about it unless it's pointed out or you asked about it. Leave the sex talk, nicknames, gossip and naughty chatter for after hours. Work ain't it, sis. Trans people should be addressed by the name they give you to use, and their gender pronouns are the ones that they prefer and ask you to use. Or it's the default gender that they present as, even if they're not around to hear it. Okay, Brenda? It's okay to ask polite questions of LGBTQ plus people if you don't understand something about them or why they do things in a certain way. But let's keep it respectful, shall we? Now, gender isn't the same as sex, and neither matter very much really. They're more convenient labels than cold hard facts, and they're often not very useful at all. So don't worry about them too much. Harassment is not okay no matter where it comes from or who's doing it. Never put up with it and go and seek out help if and where it occurs in your workplace. And cis-het means straight heterosexual because everyone's normal. Or not, it's not exclusive to heteros. And finally, be kind. It's not hard. Just be friendly and respectful to everyone, no matter what their differences are. Oh, and drag queens are fabulous and transcend the rules. Well, I hope you learned something useful today, possums. I hope to see you next time, but I'm off to the party next door. Bye.